2024 was a big year for this channel because it was the birth of this channel. That's right, Pixel Dan Toy Hunts began as a way for me to put all of my travels around the country in search for my plastic treasures all in one space. And what a fun year it was. It was so great launching a new channel, doing this thing. I've had so much fun with you guys, and I thought as we rolled into the new year, it would be a blast to reflect back on that first year of the channel and discuss what my personal favorite finds of 2024 were. So why don't we go ahead and dive right in. Here's my top 10 finds of 2024. Number 10 is one that I had wanted for a very long time, and I finally came across it when I was at the Ohio Toy Show, the Xenia Toy Show. This is a toy show that I have heard about for so many years, and I finally got there this year. Very special thanks to my friends over at Kaiju Days who gave me space at their booth for the show. I was able to go sell some toys of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe books, meet up with some viewers of the channel, but also do a little toy hunting of my own. Had a blast there. I got to meet Froggy Flips for the first time. I ran into several of my other toy hunting friends. I even found Stina 2 full cases of Disney Vinylmation toys, which are her favorite things to collect. But my favorite thing from this show happened at the very booth I was set up at, because they had a figure I had been wanting for so long, and that, my friends, is the LJN Stripe from Gremlins. This is a figure that I have always admired. In fact, many years ago, I did a video discussing the R-rated movie toys movement that took place in the 80s and the 90s, and I always found that fascinating. And Gremlins is sort of part of that history, because while it's not an R-rated movie, in fact it's a PG-rated movie, it certainly caused a bit of a ruckus because that movie wasn't as kid-friendly as every parent out there thought it was going to be. And somehow it got a line of toys that were very controversial. Well, this Stripe right here is actually, in my opinion, the coolest figure that was released. I love this. I am so happy to have this in my collection finally. I mean, seriously, how can you not love this? Even as a vintage toy, that's just a good-looking Gremlin toy. He's amazing.
Make sure to keep him out of the light and never feed him after midnight.
Number 9 on the list goes to this vintage Fisher-Price McDonald's Playset. Talk about something that I didn't even know that I wanted. But part of the reason this makes the list is because the overall experience that day was a really memorable story and turned out to be one of my most successful videos on the channel. This was actually at QuadCon, which was here in my hometown of Springfield, Illinois. This was one of those random days where I was like, hey, there's a toy show in my hometown. I can't not go to that. So me and the family went to do some hunting just to see what I could find. Now, I found this McDonald's playset about halfway through the show day, and the dealer offered me an incredible deal for it. There were no figures with it, but the playset itself was in great shape, and I was just thinking about how many fun ways I could display this with other figures. We ended up leaving the show, actually going out to have lunch together, and while I was sitting there having lunch, I just started regretting not picking up this McDonald's playset. My amazing wife Stina knew it was bothering me. She asked if we should go back and get it. I went back and I got it, and the dealers gave me an amazing deal, and what a fun toy it is. So it's a great toy, but it also has the fun story to go along with it. That definitely puts it on the list. Number 8 goes to the Top Toys Cyclone from the Masters of the Universe line. Oh man, international variants. This is not something that I collect like hardcore by any means, but I have certainly found myself picking up more and more of these international MOTU variants over the years, just because I love it when a figure is an official figure from a different region, and as a result, It's got something different about it, usually with the paint deco. In this video, I was actually invited to go toy hunting with my friends Mark Bitters and Brian Myers, the most professional wrestler from the Major Wrestling Figure podcast and from TNA Wrestling. They actually invited me to come up to Chicago and do some toy hunting at Geek Toy Hut as Brian was in town for a TNA wrestling show. And of course, how could I pass up an opportunity for that? So I hopped in the car, I drove up to Chicago for an afternoon of toy hunting with the boys, and this was a really awesome store. I found a lot of cool things in here, but what I was not expecting to find was an International Masters of the Universe variant that just really called my name. In fact, they had a few of them in there, but this Cyclone just looked so cool. I love it when there's weird paint variations on figures like this, and the fact that he was just so yellow in places that are typically blue on the US release, like the gloves and the feet. Man, I just knew that I had to bring this one home and add him to my small little collection of international MOTU variants. Speaking of Masters of the Universe, this next one is something that I have actually wanted for a very long time. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that one of my favorite figures in the original MOTU toy line is Battlecat. I love Battlecat, and one of the reasons I love him so much is that there are so many weird variations with him. Like, his paint deco is just all over the roadmap, dude. There's so many different variants out there, so it's fun to collect Battlecats. In fact, in March, while I was down in Orlando, Florida visiting Echo Base Toys, I found a French Battlecat, talking about those international variants again. So that one is cool, but I'm actually going to give this spot to the brass Battlecat that I found at the Chicago Toy Show, the Kane County Toy Show. This thing is something I have seen for many years now at various conventions. I have always wanted one. This is certainly a bootleg of some point. However, it might even predate Masters of the Universe. It could be a bootleg of the Big Jim Tiger, which was the basis for Battlecat, and it was bootlegged into like this brass tiger statue that many people probably find at like antique stores and stuff. Anyway, it's eventually caught on, and collectors know that it's based off MOTU Battlecat, so it became a bit more collectible. I've always wanted one. I was so happy to find one. It's probably one of my favorite Battlecats in my collection now. Number 6 wasn't a find, but a gift. But it was an amazing gift. While I was down in Miami, Florida, doing a book signing at the incredible Nowhere Toys and Collectibles, some viewers came in, and these folks, I want to give a shout out to their show, which is Plasticon, down there in Florida. Well, they bestowed upon me a gift that they knew would be perfect for me as soon as they saw it. This is a vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Halloween costume. And the reason this is so special is A, it's the earliest TMNT costume that I know of. It is dated like 87 with the Mirage Studios copyright on it. And 2, this is the exact Halloween costume I wore when I was in the 4th grade. This is the same costume I had as a kid. So they had seen that I had posted a picture of myself in that costume as a kid on Instagram, and they knew that I needed to have this. And better yet, it's an adult-sized costume. I didn't even know they made adult-sized costumes like this back in the 80s. What an incredible gift. I loved it so much that I actually wore it this year when I went trick-or-treating with my kids on Halloween. I dressed as 4th grade me, dressed as a Ninja Turtle. Can't get more meta than that. Anyway, I love it. Sentimental piece. Thank you guys again for the amazing gift. Definitely in my top 10 of the year. Let's stick with the TMNT theme. For number 5, I'm actually putting 2 figures in here, but it's because I bought them both at the exact same time. Back at San Diego Comic-Con, I did toy hunting with my good friend Pat, the NES punk. Every year, I always spend Sunday of SDCC doing toy hunting with him, and we actually always find some really cool stuff at the show. If anything, there's just a lot of cool stuff to look at here. But this year, I surprisingly found an incredible deal on some vintage carded TMNT figures. Now look, I'm not always one to go for carded toys. I open almost everything. I'm a loose toy displayer, but sometimes it's really cool to have carded versions of some of my favorite figures. And this dealer at SDCC had amazing, almost pristine, sealed figures of two of my all-time favorite figures, Muckman and Mutagen Man. And on top of that, he gave me an amazing bundle deal on the set. I was so excited, but then so worried about damaging these cards on my way back home from California that I immediately went over to the AFA booth and I bought protective cases for the figures. So now they are nice and displayed in some clear acrylic cases. They are beautiful. I love them.
Shredder and his henchman Mutagen Man with the floating guts have captured two of the turtle's friends, Napoleon Bonafrog, a real horned toad, and Ray Fillet, the color-mutating mutant.
Number 4, we're kind of back in that Masters of the Universe realm, but we're more in the knockoff segment. You see, the Masters of the Universe Origins line probably introduced most people to the Sunman, rulers of the Sun universe. But for me, and for many of us who have been collecting 5.5 style figures for quite some time, we've known about these really cool toys for quite some time. Now, I actually had never owned any of the original Omech Toys versions of Sunman before this. But one of the figures I've always wanted, aside from Sunman, is the villain from the line, Pighead. He's just a cool looking figure. Ever since I first saw pictures of him on the internet 15 years ago or more, I've always wanted to add this figure to my collection. But the problem is he's always been one of those higher end figures. He's always driven a pretty large price tag. Well, while I was visiting Normal, Illinois, I went into a really cool store called the Item Shop. Now, this was actually marketed much more as a retro video game store than a toy store. But to my surprise, they had a really good toy selection and quite a few grails in there. I mean, they had a Chef Boyardee mail-away Super Shredder, which is another figure that I still want to add to my collection eventually. But the figure that got my money that day was Pighead, because the price tag, while still high, is one of the best prices I have ever seen for this figure, and I'm just so happy to finally own the original version of this guy in my toy collection. Number 3 on the list is one of my most recent finds. In fact, he comes from the most successful video on this channel, and that is that big old Voltron right up there. That massive, massive Voltron. This thing is amazing, and I love me some Voltron, original Lion Force Voltron, specifically the old toys that go with that series. The Panache Play stuff is amazing, but this LJN Voltron, which is almost like a Shogun Warriors Voltron, really caught my eye when I was visiting one of my favorite stores, STL Comics and Toys. And they had an amazing holiday sale going on. If you're watching this, you probably saw that video. You know the deal. I got an amazing price on a Voltron that I don't hardly ever run into out in the wild. And as promised, I found a spot for him. He looks awesome up there with the Castle of Lions. So, man, I love you, Voltron. So happy that you're home.
The motorized Voltron Giant Commander, new from LJN.
Number 2 is another incredibly special gift that was given to me. Back at Joe Fest, I got to meet up with a friend and longtime follower and supporter of this channel, whose name is Carlos, Charlie 5.5 over on Instagram. He's a really great collector of 5.5 stuff, especially like Masters of the Universe Origins and the like, and he gifted me something that I couldn't believe he gifted me, and that is a test shot for the Masters of the Universe Origins Musketor. You probably know by now that Musketor is my all-time favorite Masters of the Universe action figure, and getting a test shot of the most recent version is just an incredible gift. Now, if you're not familiar with what a test shot is, it's essentially a form of prototype, but it is a full production figure but it's run with whatever plastics are in the machine at the time, essentially just to test it and make sure that the mold works and everything functions as it should. So that's why it's molded in funky colors, but what's amazing about it is it's even got the liquid in it. Like, they tested the blood and everything with this test shot. It is an absolutely epic piece. I'm so happy to add it to my Mosquitor shelf. I've got a test shot for the MOTU Classics Mosquitor in there as well. So I'm so happy to add the Origins one to that. Carlos, my friend, thank you again. Second best figure I got of the year. So what is number one? I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Because number one is G.I. Joe Ninja Force. All of them. Okay, so let me explain. Ninja Force sort of became this goal of mine, and it all sort of happened by mistake. And I have to give credit to my friend Brett, because when I went to Toylanta in 2023, one of the things I said that I was interested in tracking down was Ninja Force Zartan. Just because I always thought he was such a funky looking toy. I love the neon orange mohawk, the face paint, the green pants, and I wanted to dabble into some of the Ninja Force stuff. Well, he bought me a Ninja Force Zartan at that show and got the ball rolling. From that moment on, I knew that I wanted to collect the entire Ninja Force line, and 2024 became the year of Ninja Force and Shadow Ninjas. So I picked up so many of these throughout the year. I almost completed the entire collection, but crazy enough, I didn't wrap it up in 2024. I actually have a handful of carded figures that I still need to get, and I need to get one more vehicle, but I made some amazing progress. I had so much fun. I made a lot of friends in the process. So many people reached out to me and told me that me gushing over Ninja Force made them realize how cool they were. I don't know, it was just some really fun moments that I got to share with a lot of people in the toy community, and that is really what it's all about, and that is why Ninja Force is going to be number one. If I have to pick one thing specifically out of there, I'm actually going to pick the pile driver vehicle, because again, this was another amazing gift that was given to me back at Joe Fest. It's the first vehicle that I've gotten from the Ninja Force line. It's got the box, everything's there. It's an amazing piece. Man, I just want to thank you guys for all the fun we've had with the Ninja Force stuff. I mean, it inspired the logo for this channel. It's always going to be like the symbol of the Pixel Dan Toy Hunts channel. It has a history and a legacy now, and I've got to wrap that toy line up in 2025. So that's where we leave this today. What does the future hold? Well, I'm not going to be able to answer that in today's video, but I do want you to know that it's something that I'm thinking about. I want 2025 to have a bit more focus. And that's not necessarily a goal for the channel or for the videos, but more for myself as a collector. I want to try to isolate the things that I really want to try to track down and add to my collection and see if I can stay focused. Now, as a toy collector, I know that that's impossible. I know that I'm going to discover new things along the way, but hey, that's what makes this show fun. So stay tuned, because we're going to be doing some more with that. I'm going to be rearranging all of this to add some of the new things that I've been picking up in the last year. I'm going to bring you along for those journeys, but also we're going to get back out there again. We're going to hit new places this year. We're going to find new awesome local toy stores, some new conventions. Maybe we'll leave the country. We'll have to see what the future holds. I hope you guys will stick with me here. Thank you for all of your support here on this new channel. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope that you'll join me for some more hunting in this new year. Until then, happy hunting, my friends.